All right, today we're going to unpack something really big, a plan that's set to reshape English education for an entire country. We're talking about Indonesia's 2025 English curriculum. It's a brand new vision, and we're going to break down exactly what's inside.
You know, this whole new curriculum really boils down to one central question. For years, Indonesia has had a pretty solid framework for teaching English. So why haven't the results always lived up to the potential? This guide doesn't just ask that question. It's designed to be the answer.
And the official guide is super clear on one thing. The core strategy they've been using since 2004, this text-based approach, it isn't actually the problem. The real issue, it turns out, lies in the execution, a disconnect between the plan on paper and what actually happens in the classroom. Okay, so that brings us to our first section. Let's really dig into the core challenge that this new curriculum is trying to fix. So here's the deal. The text-based approach is supposed to be a cycle, something that unfolds over several lessons, right? But the reality is that many teachers have had to cram that entire cycle into just one session. And when you rush it like that, learning gets cut short. Students get the information, but they never quite get to that final, crucial stage of creation and true mastery. So if that's the problem, what's the big solution? Well, the new curriculum introduces this really powerful concept to close that gap. It's called Pembelajaran Mendalam, which we can translate as deep learning.
Now, this is really important. Deep learning isn't a replacement for the old method, not at all. It's described as a perfect partner. The whole idea is to make the learning process feel more meaningful to students, more intentional for teachers, and honestly, just more fun for everybody.
And you can see just how beautifully this works. The core ideas of deep learning, making things meaningful, conscious, and enjoyable, they map perfectly onto the goals of text-based teaching. It's all about real communication with a purpose, which just naturally makes the whole experience way more engaging and a lot more effective.
So how does this play out in the classroom? It's driven by this four-step cycle. First, you have building knowledge of the field to give everyone context. Then, you move through modeling the text and joint construction, where the teacher and students work together. And finally, the goal, independent construction, where the student can really fly on their own. This structure makes sure nothing is rushed, and students get the support they need at every single step.
So that's the philosophy behind it. But what does this actually look like in practice? Well, everything is organized into a super clear framework built on 6 key elements that all work together.
I love this part. Instead of teaching skills separately, they're paired up. So you have listening, speaking, reading, viewing, which is so smart because it includes modern media, and writing, presenting. This makes sure students are developing both their understanding and production skills at the same time, just like we do in real life.
Now, progress is tracked using a system of phases, or fase. And here's the key. Each phase is benchmarked against the CEFR, which is a global standard for language skills. This is a game changer. It means a student's English level in Indonesia can be understood anywhere in the world, which is huge for things like college or careers abroad.
Okay, this is where it all comes to life. Let's make this feel real by actually following a student's journey through these phases and watch how their skills just build and build over time.
So the journey starts small, in elementary school's Phase B, where they're building those foundational A1 skills. By middle school, in Phase D, they're starting to work with more complex sentences and hitting that A2 level. And then, here comes the big leap in high school, where students in the advanced program can actually reach a B1 or even a B2 level, analyzing complex stuff and evaluating information. It's a really deliberate, step-by-step path to becoming truly proficient.
And this comparison just shows it all. In Phase B, you have an elementary school kid learning simple stuff like greetings. Fast forward to the advanced Phase F, and that same student is expected to dive into complex texts about global issues, evaluating different viewpoints. I mean, wow, the growth there is just immense.
So let's put some actual numbers on this. What does this mean for vocabulary? Well, by the time a student finishes elementary school, or Phase C, the goal is for them to know about 1,000 high-frequency words, which gets them to that A1 level.
Okay, but now get ready for this jump. For those students in the advanced Phase F program, the target vocabulary shoots up to 4,000 high-frequency words. That is what we're talking about. It's that massive increase that lets them hit that impressive B2 level, where they can really use English with confidence.
So we've gone through all the details, the phases, the methods, but let's zoom all the way out. What's the ultimate goal here? Why does this new approach matter so much?
Because at the end of the day, this is about so much more than just grammar rules. The real ultimate goals are to build real communication skills. to foster understanding across cultures, to grow self-confidence, and to sharpen critical thinking. This is really a framework for developing the whole person, getting them ready for a global world.
You know, I think this one quote from the official guide just captures the whole spirit of it perfectly. The ultimate goal is to empower students, to give them the confidence to express themselves not just as English speakers, but as independent and responsible people on the world stage.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question. By focusing on learning that's deep, that's meaningful, that's all connected, this curriculum isn't just teaching a language, it's actively shaping a more connected future. So you have to wonder, how will this new approach really define Indonesia's next generation of global citizens?